இந்த மாநாட்டுடைய தலைப்பே மிகவும் சிறப்பாக அமைந்திருக்கின்றது. சனாதன எதிர்ப்பு மாநாடு என்று போடாமல் சனாதன ஒழிப்பு மாநாடு என்றும் நீங்கள் இதை போட்டிருக்கிறீர்கள், இதை அழைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு பெயரிட்டீர்கள். அதற்கு என்னுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். சிலவற்றை நாம் ஒழிக்கத்தான் வேண்டும், எதிர்க்க முடியாது. கொசு, டெங்கு காய்ச்சல், மலேரியா, கொரோனா இதையெல்லாம் நம்ம எதிர்க்கக்கூடாது, ஒழித்து கட்ட வேண்டும். அப்படிதான் இந்த சனாதனம். சனாதனம் என்பதை எதிர்ப்பதை விட ஒழிப்பதே நாம் செய்ய வேண்டிய முதல் காரியமாகும்.
We want to know what was the reason why Mr. Nidhi gave this such kind of statement which has created such a controversy all over the country, or rather all over the world. So we would like to know the perspective of the Dravidian movement, which has its roots for more than a few hundred years. So Professor Karunanandan ji.
What udhayanithistalin stated was not something like what you call a hate speech or calling for genocide. It was a different perspective, and the people who make it an issue knew that what he is speaking. It was a criminal conspiracy that they distorted his version to instigate chauvinism against the establishment, the established views. Today, on this, I am trying to give you the Dravidian perspective of Sanatana.
Ji, please continue, Professor.
Okay. The rightist elements used to say one nation, one election, one code of law, and one culture. But I don't find any reason for having too many names for what they call a dharma. The native dharma, Hindu dharma, is also interpreted as Arya religion, the Vedic religion, Varnasrama system, and the Sanatana system. So different names for the same belief system or same cultural representation. I do not understand. But I feel that different names have different significance. Vedic religion means everything based on Vedas. Those people who do not have faith in Vedas may not adopt it. Aryan religion means it is originating from a race which had dominance in a particular area of India. Dayananda Saraswati spoke of Arya religion and not of Hindu or Sanatana religion. And the seer of Kanji Mutt, Sangrasegarananda Pidadipadi of Kanjipuram, Sangaramat, he stated that Hindu was a name given by foreigners to us. Our religion ought to have been called Sanatana. And he further went to explain what Sanatana means. He categorically stated that Sanatana is synonymous with Varnasrama dharma. Now my question is that, what do you mean by Sanatana? A faith system or a social order, social regulation? If it is a faith system, there are different faith systems prevailing in this country. Even Lord Shankara referred to matas. He referred to Shanmadas. There were other madas too. That is, belief in God. The Dravidian ideology is not based on God or anti-God. It is not God-centric. As Buddha stated, it was human-centric ideology, not God-centric ideology. God is not the center as a focal point here. But here they say that when we ask them, what do you mean by Sanatana? They interpret Sanatana as an eternal one. It has no beginning, no end. Eternal one. What I understand that there is nothing as eternal in this world. Everything undergoes transformation. Everything undergoes change. But those the propagandists of Sanatana want something to be eternal. What was that they want to be eternal? Anything about the concept of God? They want the social order to be eternal. What sort of social order? A divided society, and what you call that, the social order based on varnas, avarnas, savarnas, panchamas, and differential treatment to different segment. This is the social order. What Dravidian ideology is insisting is that the social requirement is that everyone within the framework of a nation should have equal status, equal dignity, equal opportunity, and there should be no denials or discriminations based on their birth or any other consideration. So this is the national integration requires social integration. Social integrations can be achieved only when social equality is assured. So we want an egalitarian society. The so-called Sanatana Varnasrama goes against equality. And Sanatana, eternal, the principle of eternity, goes against the very nature of humanity. We want change and progress. They want, in fact, by insisting Sanatana, they want to secure revival of the past order, which we oppose.
Karunanandan ji, अपनी बात को पूरी करें. Please continue.
It was not a religious question. When we are critical of Sanatana, we are critical of the social regulation, social order. But knowingly very well where our opposition is centered, the other side makes it a religious issue, as if we are questioning the faith system. We are not questioning the faith system. Even in the faith system, there is no uniformity in the so-called Hindu order. Shankara mentioned Shanmadas, 6 deities for devotion. There are other hundreds of other deities. So there are different faiths followed in India. The Saivite would not accept Vaishnavite, Vaishnavite would not accept the Shakta people. So different religions existed. What we insist is that they must exist in peace and in equality. But here, in the garb of religion, they tried to establish a social order. The social progress in India, especially in Tamil Nadu, could be achieved a little. Entire struggles for social transformation had to be against Sanatana order. The Sudras, the Panchamas, the women did not have right to education. We got it only by resisting and removing the Sanatanic restrictions. And the widows were burned. Child marriage was in vogue. Everything in the name of sanatandharma. Temples were not opened for the masses. And temples were denied to them. And they could enter into the temples only by fighting against the Sanatana restrictions. So everywhere we find that. Even the women education. Vidyasagar fought for women education. Who resisted it? Sanatanic Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. So everywhere we find that Sanatana obstructed change and progress. We have to change the status quo. Unless we change the status quo, we cannot make further progress. So Sanatana has to be resisted and has to be changed. But here, the concept of Sanatana is being tackled. And we are not trying to eliminate people who advocate Sanatana. That is not our strategy. That is the strategy of hindutva forces. They eliminate people in order to establish their school of thought. The Dravidian school did not believe in elimination of persons. Even Periyar never suggested violent methods against the other views. He was very consistent in resisting inequality in every sphere. Equality must be established, equal dignity must be assured in the field of society, religion, politics, material activities, and every sphere. In education too, this inequality must be removed. And what we find today is that though some states have made progress, so in states like Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Punjab, they made some progress in securing education for the marginalized sections. In other states, the condition is not so. Wherever the hindutva forces are dominant, where we find social backwardness. So what Udhayanithistalin stated was that this status quo had to be fought. This sanatanic system had to be challenged. Otherwise, we cannot make further improvement. But this was distorted, as if we were suggesting the believers had to be eliminated. The question of believing or non-believing does not arise here. There can be believers, there can be agnostic, there can be atheist in any form. Even in the Vedas, we find agnostic and atheist. So, the question is not the faith in God, but the question is whether you are going to reconcile with the unjust social order, unjust religious order. We are against unjust religious order. We want to secure a just order. To secure a just order, the unjust order in the form of Sanatana had to be opposed and removed. That is the view of the Dravidian movement. And Sister Gita had referred to certain women programs. In the Tamil Nadu, for temple entry, hundreds of movements were there. And many people were killed, slaughtered by the Sanatanists in Kamudi, in Aruppukkottai, in Sivagasi, in Tenkasi, in so many places. People were not allowed to enter the temple. Whenever they tried to enter into the temple, they were assaulted and assassinated. This was the case. Only the Vaikam Satyagraha was against the Sanatanic restriction. Periyar led it. We secured the temple, the right to enter into the thoroughfare around the temples. Vaikam Satyagraha is not for temple entry. It is for securing the right to use the public thoroughfare by all segments. And all the social struggles in India as well as particularly in Tamil Nadu were against the Sanatanic unjust restrictions. So any criticism against Sanatana is meant to uphold social justice. Any support for Sanatana would mean that they try to revive the old unjust order. Sanatana is always explained through interpretation. It is always interpretations. Different people give different interpretation. But when I go through the text explaining the basics of Sanatana, that is nothing but Varnasrama. Everything is based on insisting on duties, nothing about the rights and dignity of the people. That is what I found in the so-called scripture. When I went through it, I found it. The thing is that we are not living in the Vedic age. We are living in the modern age. We want to become more human than we were in the Vedic age. It is possible if we accept the principle of transformation. We cannot live in the past. We cannot live in the past order. We will have to go further and see that we are in a better condition unless we are equal. Unless our dignity is respected, we cannot be together. So, in order to create a just integrated society, first accept egalitarianism as the basis of the integration. Thank you. Thank you. You did well. Okay.
உன் கடவுளை விட உன் சாஸ்திரத்தை விட உன் முன்னோரை விட உன் வெங்காயம் விளக்கமாத்தை விட உன் அறிவு பெருசு அதை சிந்தி